Yeah, so that's an issue with sampling. And if I render this, it looks like there's actually probably some weird sampling issues in here, like in the background. Maybe, yeah, so like back in here. So I'll focus on this area in here. If you go into your render settings, if you go, and this is just like where it is in Arnold, but it's called sampling. So if you go to the Arnold renderer tab in the render settings, you can see it'll give you all these options for like specular and transmission, all that stuff. If you for this assignment, like unless you're putting a bunch of like clear stuff or subsurface scattering in, which you don't need to, but like if you just have the maps that I have in here, so like color, roughness, metalness, that kind of thing. The only thing you're probably really going to need to render is maybe diffuse, like take up that. Perhaps if I do specular. So it looks like in this case like diffuse is the best to modify, but basically you just go through and you can kind of see a little bit, so like I don't know. I hope you can maybe see that, but like this area in here where I've been rendering, like if I take the diffuse samples up to something, I don't know, 5, you can see that this area in here is a lot smoother than this area out here. This is where I had the samples really, really low, and this is where I set them to be higher. So you would just sort of twiddle with these settings until you got something that looks like kind of not horrific in terms of graininess for things. The one thing to be aware of, though, is like if you set this, like the higher you set these settings, your renders are going to start taking a lot longer, like if you set it to really, really high numbers. So sort of sweet spot is like how low can I get these numbers while still getting a good quality image. But yeah, and then there's like, if you ever get into doing stuff with like glass, that's going to be, I think it's glass. It's going to be like transmission. SSS is subsurface scattering. For anything we've done so far, probably these top 3 are the only ones you're going to need to worry about. That answer your question? Cool. Yes?
Can we use a different renderer if you want to?
Sure. As long, well, here's, yes. Redshift good. Yeah, I'm going to go over Redshift a little bit later. I've just been doing Arnold for the most part. It's like, it seems like pretty intuitive as like an intro renderer. But yeah, no, Redshift is definitely awesome, especially when you get into the later anim classes when you're like, I need to render 700 frames and I don't want to take 5 minutes a frame. But yeah, no, if you know how to use Redshift, that's totally fine. Yeah, acceptable renders would be like Arnold, Redshift, RenderMan. All those should be installed on all of the lab computers, and you should be able to at least access them via trial. RenderMan is available. The full thing is like available for free download. It's the render that Pixar uses for a lot of their stuff. Arnold should come with Maya, so if you have the free trial, you should have Arnold. And then Redshift, if you can download the full free trial forever. The downside is if you render with your free trial, it will watermark your images. I probably shouldn't say this, but you can get around that by coming into the lab computers and just rendering on the lab computers. So like you could totally do all your work on your laptop, do all your test renders in Redshift on your laptop, and then just come in and render on the lab computers. It'll get rid of the watermark and you'll be fine. I totally don't want to see watermarks on your stuff for this class. It looks really gross. But yeah. Any other questions? Alrighty then. In that case,